don't think there's a time, certainly in my life, where there's been so much disruption to this industry. When people say the trends, Florida's peaked or it's flat or sorry, it really is, because it just depends. Interest rates have an appreciable impact. And I got news for everyone. They're going up again. I don't care what anyone says. Changing the Fed chair means nothing. Also had her dominance, right? They put their entire ordering system onto AI. It moved, and you can't make this up, it moved the delivery times from 30 minutes to an average of 45 minutes. So now they're being sued for $100 million by their franchisees because of what it's done to their ability to meet the 30 minutes. How big, you were younger.
30 minutes or it's
30
free.
minutes or it's free,
Yeah.
right? They screwed that whole thing up. We're not going to see a marketplace that we had in 2021, 22, where like you could swing a cat and hit, 15 homes that are selling and people chasing prices. You're not going to see that for a number of years. I think there are going to be less realtors, more professionals. That's an important distinction.
Hello, RWorld. Welcome back to another episode of RWorld Talk. I've said this a million times before. Super excited to have this guest, but today we have a really, really special treat. We've got the CEO of Inman, Mr. Tom Bohn. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being with us. Guys, if you hear a little bit of background noise, we are in West Palm Beach, and it is torrential rain right now. So please excuse that. We're going to do our best to clean up this audio before we put this thing out. What's really cool about having Tom here, we've talked about Inman so many times on this podcast and say, take a look at what Inman's putting out there. And I think numerous times I've called the clickbait out. Because sometimes, you guys put out these headlines and you think the sky is falling, but if you actually read the article, it turned out to be a brilliant headline.
Yeah.
But you have to get to the end of the story to figure out what that headline actually meant. So
100%.
you guys are doing something right with your headlines.
I
So
appreciate that.
we want to hear all about it.
Is this horrible storm a good omen or a bad one? Is this like wedding day? Is this good for this podcast?
I think this is gonna be good luck for this
Okay,
podcast.
all right, good.
I hope we're gonna have good luck. I've got a feeling we're gonna need it. We're gonna get heated here to talk about some fun stuff. I'm just kidding. We're not going to get heated. I am truly excited to have you with us today. Obviously, you'd have to be living under a rock or have never sold real estate to not know who Inman is.
Yeah.
As far as media publication, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you ended up with Inman? You're a seasoned media executive who has been through many iterations, B2B media, events, data intelligence, franchise systems, 25 years in the business.
Yeah.
What brought you to Inman? How'd you end up in
I
this?
started when I was 35, so it's perfect timing. Look, I mean, I basically have been asked to do the same job 5 times.
Okay.
Which is this. It's hey, we've got this incredible platform, this brand, and it does X really well. We need to reimagine it to X plus plus plus.
Okay.
Can you help us do that? And if you look at the arc of my career, it's been in veterinary medicine, it's been in M&A, private equity, it's been in home improvement media. You go through the list of it, it's been the same thing. Let's take this incredible brand and reimagine it for what the world is now. And I think if you look at, what's happening in real estate, there's never been, I don't think there's a time, certainly in my life, where there's been so much disruption to this industry than there is right now. So you look at, you look at the post deal with NAR, you look at consolidation, you look at AI, it's a perfect blend of everything. So when I look at that, but I look at the power of the Inman brand, the group who's able to actually give understanding, right, through this craziness,
Right.
And perspective, I think are the ones who are really going to win. And I believe in this platform. So when the folks came to me and said, "Hey, we've got this platform we think you'd be interested in," I said, "Well, what industry is it in?" They said, "Residential real estate." I said, "Oh God, wait, yeah. Well, I know, I mean, all friends, realtors, all that type of stuff, very close to it. I've been through 3 home sales in the past 3 years, right? So I've been on all ends of this type of thing, and I said, wow, they're in a bit of a dynamic industry right now. What does that look like? And as I started to peel back the layers and started to get to know some of the folks, I'm like, not only is this a great brand, but the people who represent it, people like yourself, they're incredibly smart. They're CEOs of their own businesses, whether you're one realtor or a broker or oversee multiple.
Right.
These are the folks who understand operating a business at the hyper local level. That's exciting. So I was like, yeah, sign me up.
So did you come into this a little apprehensive and kind of scared with what's going on with, I mean, not only is it being disrupted, but I mean, we're talking about major lawsuits. We're talking about major changes. I mean, what's going to happen with the future of the way that we do business right now? When you talk about the value of the MLS, when we talk about the big disruptors, I mean, Dave Lineker's now sold Remax to Real. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
huge things that nobody ever thought for decades the things that are happening today would actually happen.
Yeah.
But now I mean, there's so much changes. It's a little overwhelming sometimes for you guys as a brand to stay on top of everything that's going on.
There is, but look, here's the reality. I think every industry is facing that right now. AI is certainly in our lifetime. I'm probably older than you, unfortunately, but we won't talk about that. But I will tell you that never, and I've seen a lot of accelerated change happen. Never have I seen it at the pace we're going through now. So if there's anything that scares me, if you want to use that word, I think it's that. The structural integrity of housing doesn't scare me because this is the investment that most people value in their lives. It's the most important thing that they own. Realtors, by and large, are incredibly professional. They're skilled at what they do. I don't imagine a world where they're going to be displaced by AI or anything like that. But I think in as much as AI starts to affect everything like marketing and social media and advertising and those types of platforms, that's pretty crazy. That's
That is
happening
crazy.
right now I mean, here's a perfect example. I watched companies that were valued at 8, 9x drop to 4x within 6 months because of what happened in the implosion of the open web advertising. People that built their entire businesses on, we're going to get clicks. We're going to bring
Yep.
people to a website. We're going to bring people to a community, and we're going to do it all through Google ads or, Meta ads or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Watch that completely fall off the wayside. We're lucky at Inman because it's subscriber based. People are it's news, it's insight, it's all those types of things, but we can't rest on any of that. We've got to change. So we're about to go through some significant changes. In fact, in San Diego, we've got some major announcements we're going to share about where Inman's going. I'm excited to tease some of
Okay.
those out with you today.
Hey,
Let's hit 'em.
our people are listening. We love
They're ready. They're
yeah,
ready.
we love the teaser stuff. So you've been in this role for what, 2 months now?
4 months.
4 months.
It feels like 40, but yeah,
Okay.
it's 4 months.
4 months. My goodness. What is Brad doing these days?
Brad, the guy is amazing. He really is. He's been so absolutely kind and generous and supportive, and you always know where he stands, right? So that's always one of the benefits
Yeah.
of knowing Brad. He's still an owner, a partial owner of the company, but he started a brand new company around women's longevity.
Interesting.
Brad Inman started a company on women's longevity.
Okay.
But it gets to the heart of stuff that I love as well. So I'm watching him as an admirer on the sides. My wife owns a wellness and Pilates studio with saunas and cold plunges. So we're tied into
So that's
a lot
aligned
now.
well.
It's aligned perfectly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're able to banter on that type of stuff. But he still stays connected. He's still passionate about it and still offers his incredibly unfiltered advice.
Incredibly unfiltered.
Incredibly
Yeah.
unfiltered advice.
Brad is certainly a friend of this association, and we obviously absolutely love him as well. We've had him at our Realtor Revolution annual meeting that is now going to be different now that we've merged with Miami and become this absolutely massive organization.
Congratulations. That is,
thank you.
I'm actually, so I'm a former association guy.
Okay.
So that's how I came up through the world.
Veterinary medicine, association.
I'm literally, I'm an association guy.
Okay.
So not only do I know the world you guys sit in, I also know the absolute lift it took to pull this off. But the way you did it with the almost complete lack of controversy or crazy, I don't know, stuff behind the scenes, but whatever. The reality is I think you're going to be the model for the future of MLSs. So congratulations to you. I can't wait to see what you do with it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. We actually this week are going to have our first merged corporate board meeting. So we're going down to Miami HQ, which is absolutely stunning building. If any of our members ever get a chance to go there, highly recommend going and checking it out. But yes, it's funny because we were two fierce competitors,
Yeah.
mega associations. And it seems like this came together, and obviously this was years in the making and a lot of past leadership having conversations at Florida Realtors and
Yeah.
NAR and up in DC, and we'd always get together and have a conversation about what would this look like.
Yeah.
But it really took the leaders that we have today, this year, to sit down, and they came together over, a slice of pizza and a beer and said, let's get the CEOs in a room and actually hash out what this would look like. And it came together like butter. Everybody was working like a well-oiled machine.
So an interesting
fantastic
tidbit of my background. I actually, if you're connected to associations, certified association executive,
Yep.
CAA, right?
Yep.
Which I have and all that. But I actually wrote in their preparation guide the chapter on mergers and acquisitions.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
That's
like
awesome.
it all comes full house in my world.
Yeah.
So like, but again, I watched this and I was like, they get it. They absolutely get it. I mean, we need to have your team, like you, Jonathan Dolphus, come to San Diego and actually do a presentation and discussion on this, because this is meaty, this is real. And again, I like, what are we, 500 something still?
Yeah.
In terms of MLSs?
Yep.
That can't function in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
It's well, the number of MLSs is dwindling quite quickly because people are realizing,
Yeah.
economies of scale. They've got to put these
100%.
MLSs together, and you've got people that are in markets that are literally right next door. So you've got somebody who's on one side of the street and somebody who's on the other. They're not seeing each other's sold data. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I hope we don't get to the point where there's one, because I think that's a colossal failure, because like with anything, it becomes bureaucratic,
Yep.
it becomes slow, it becomes outdated. It's like government. I'd rather have 50 unique entities battling to be really good and really relevant than one that's incredibly slow and bureaucratic and too deliberative in the process. So
100% agree. And you know what? Like we spoke off camera before we started recording, everything in real estate is so hyper local. Like you said, sometimes it comes down to a specific neighborhood or a
Yeah.
specific street. Where prices could be vastly different from the, just a week or two ago when we had one of our guests on, and we were talking about, he said, how come you can't get $5 million for a house that's on the west side of Dixie, but you can't on the east side? And he said, screw it. I'm just going to buy the house on the west side of Dixie, renovate it, and sell it for $5 million.
you're absolutely right.
And he did it.
And you know how many
changed
people
the entire
continue to
block.
do that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that entire gentrification, particularly in Florida, we talked about this earlier. It's like you literally can go in Florida and be around these beautiful, amazing homes. Then you go 2-3 streets over and you're like, do I need a shiv to get by here? But that is Florida.
That
It's
is Florida.
crazy. It's very different if you go to like Westchester in New York, or, Fairfield County in Connecticut, where
Sure.
you can go miles and miles and it's just these beautiful rolling hills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In Florida, it's like in a blink of an eye, all of a sudden your world changes.
Yeah.
So it is hyper local. The best realtors get that,
Absolutely.
right? They're not working off comps. They're working off the imagination of what something could be and should be.
For sure. That's, even my own agents, my office, when they start asking me about how do I get access to the MLS in this part of the state, I'm like, don't get access to the MLS. And refer that out. If you don't know what association it is to even ask for
Yeah.
how to get the MLS access, you've got no business selling that neighborhood, because you could be showing a property that
Amen.
some crazy seller listed for $100,000 over ask, or what the neighborhood comps would be, but you don't realize that that's the worst street in the neighborhood, and they're shooting for the stars right now. When
Absolutely.
a local would actually know, yeah, you know what? They shouldn't be asking this much money because that house is actually worth 100,000 less. People shouldn't be selling where they don't actually understand.
And that's why I don't
neighborhood
think you
dynamic.
ever take the professional out of it, the licensed realtor out
Yep.
of it. It's no different than an attorney at closing, or, a title person at closing. You need people to, I hope that's not me.
Nope, that's me.
All right.
My bad, guys. Sorry about that.
I really, because to me, that is at the heart of it. It is a major investment. It's a major part of people's lives. You need to have someone who understands what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. That being said, let's talk about what we're seeing around the country right now.
Yeah.
You guys are tapped into every single market, every city. You really sort of know what's going on, what's working, what's not. What sort of trends are you seeing across the country?
Yeah.
You and I spoke, up in the Northeast, you've got properties that just are not moving. You come down to South Florida and we can't keep something for $20 million on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
sold before it even
It's
hits the
great.
market.
Yeah, I keep going because I spent a lot of time up in Westchester, Fairfield, and up in that Northeast area. Beautiful, beautiful community. So you're seeing those higher end 20 million and stuff. They're just sitting there, right? But if you get down into the 1, 2, 3 million, there's multiple offers on them, right?
Right.
You come down to Florida, you're having a lot of difficulty on some of the older condos, right? So
Big time.
that's why I discard the aggregates, right? When people say the trends, Florida's peaked or it's flat or Sorry, it really is, because it just depends.
Right.
It gets down to a neighborhood level. So even in Fort Myers, where I'm at, there are neighborhoods that are hot. There's this, Sirhan's representing the one building down there. That thing's selling. They already had that 50% sold. People are excited about things that have value, that have sizzle, that provide community, that have walkability, that have all those types of things that are important to
Right.
folks. The other types of things, yeah, they're going to struggle, and they're going to struggle as part of the larger macro environment. Interest rates have an appreciable impact. And I got news for everyone. They're going up again. I don't care what anyone says. Changing the Fed chair means nothing, right? They're going up. If you look at the betting markets and stuff like that, there is a built-in one this year that's going to happen, at least one. If we continue to see pressure on the price side of it, that's macroeconomics. That's not a political statement. That's not supporting one group over another.
Right.
That's simply how things work,
Right.
right? So we have to be prepared for that. I think by and large, we're looking at probably the middle of next year where we start to see things hopefully clear out more. We get, finished with Iran. We get some of the oil things calm down, which I think are going to linger a lot more than people realize. Then maybe we can start to see a little bit more downward pressure on that. Ultimately, that sweet spot is going to be 6 and below.
I love that you touched on Besant, because you see so much in the media where they're like, new Fed chair, this is great news for real estate. Somebody's going to come in and sort of change the game, and we're going to see rates go down. You're saying absolutely not the case.
Not the case.
What do you think is going to be the biggest sort of the biggest pressure on interest rates?
I think the biggest pressure on interest rates right now is simply the overall inflationary pressure that we have. And we're not getting away from that. Oil is just another thing. Look, I refied just not that long ago, and it was literally changed overnight because of oil and some other types of factors that we're seeing. That's not going away. You mentioned it before. We live by headlines.
Yep.
Right? And to say we're changing the Fed, that's going to change the rate, that's a headline. But the reality behind that is much more nuanced.
And that's what people run with, though. They run with the headline.
We run with it.
Fed share has changed, so the rates are going to come down.
Yeah.
And literally, that's all that anybody talks about. But if you actually read the article and get through to the last sentence, you're like, that's not what the headline was actually saying.
100%. And then when I push back, and then now in this day and age, it becomes a political statement. Oh, you're just no, dude. I'm pro economics.
I'm actually paying attention to what's happening.
Economics hasn't changed in 100 years. When prices are rising, you can't decrease interest rates because you start to get into a stagflation type situation. We don't want to be there.
No.
So the board of governors for the Fed, I think, are going to be really smart about this. And I think you're going to see them pushing it up because we don't want to get back to, the situation we had in the 70s. That was not good. Here's the thing. I'm young enough to remember the Reagan years. And you remember when Reagan came in office, interest rates were like 12, 13%, right? And he actually was the one who let them go because inflation was running rampant. People couldn't afford stuff. So we brought that back in. He was lionized. He was a hero for that. Right. So we've got to let the market shake out. We've got to let some of these things calm down. We got to see where AI is starting to head. I actually feel better about what's happening with AI at this point now than I did at any other point during these conversations.
Interesting.
And can I share why?
Yeah, of course.
So everyone's like,
it's like perfect timing because we've got the state of Florida suing OpenAI right now because of AI safety.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
I think the courts and individuals are finally starting to get behind the real threats of what this is. And everyone's starting to think we can't let this go unmanaged.
Absolutely.
And for a long time in the world that we're sitting in now for AI, right? Months. It was
we're in like year 2.
Right. It was holy the world's collapsing. And then finally people are starting to catch up and go, wait a minute. It's up to us.
Yeah.
Right. If we support smart legislation and protections for different people and groups, we can harness the power of AI to be better, to be assistance to allow us to do more thoughtful, meaningful work instead of tedious, grinding type work. And I'm starting to see that play out. Look at 2 companies recently. Starbucks is a perfect example. They put their entire ordering system in AI. It screwed everything up. They had to turn it off.
Okay,
right?
I didn't hear this.
They had to turn it off, right? Like, I love this. It's like, you still can't let this, it's not the answer to everything, right? And I get, there's the, general intelligence. Okay, great. But the reality is human beings still need to be at the forefront of everything. the smarter corporate leaders, the smarter leaders in the community like yourself are going to get behind it and go, whoa, wait a minute. It's not all about the IPO for OpenAI. It's not all about the Anthropic. It's
Right.
about our lives and what that means for us. So I'm all about AI. I use it heavily. I force my team to get trained up on Claude and utilize it, but not to replace them.
No.
Right? We don't write articles with AI. Do we do research with AI? Of course, but then we back check it and make sure that it's
Right.
because I will tell you, there have been times I recently just put, we did a restructure in Inman Group. And I put it all through Claude and said, give me an org chart based on this. Perfect thing for AI to
Right.
do. It came back and made up titles of people.
I find the exact same thing happening all the time. I go in and I start this project and I spend a couple hours tweaking things and sort of massaging everything the way that I want it. I'm like, put this into a PDF. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah.
It keeps giving me these like error messages like, you're right, I messed up,
Yeah.
tell me to try again. So it's like, try again. And then by the time it's over and done with, I'm just like, what, screw it. I'm just gonna wing
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah. So you've got companies. Another one is it's either Pizza Hut or Domino's, right? They put their entire ordering system onto AI. It moved, and you can't make this up. It moved the delivery times from 30 minutes to an average of 45 minutes. So now they're being sued for $100 million by their franchisees because of what it's done to their ability to meet the 30 minutes. How big, when
Yeah,
you were younger,
30
it was
minutes or it's
30
free.
minutes or it's free,
Yeah, yeah.
right? They screwed that whole thing up,
Yeah.
right? So I think you're starting to see those types of things happen in real time. You're starting to see people, speeches at colleges where people are getting booed talking about AI. Folks are waking up to the reality of, yes, let's harness it, but let's protect humanity
Absolutely.
and make sure we're connected and we're involved.
Absolutely.
And I think that's no different than what we're dealing with. The last part of that, and there's three pieces I mentioned, is it's incredibly expensive, right? So how many companies now are you reading about that are burning through their tokens and everything? They had a year budget and they used it in a quarter, and then they have to shut it down. And then we're trying to build all these centers and it's sapping up water so it's like everything else. Fear sells, right?
Yeah.
But the reality behind it, I think it's going to be much more nuanced. I think it's going to be much more helpful as long as we get ahead of it and put appropriate protections in place, particularly around the real estate world.
Yeah, the data center portion of that whole thing is just like,
I mean,
everybody in Florida is like, up in arms, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Suck all the water out of the Everglades?
and in Florida, water is like, you don't mess with water in Florida, right? That's was known. When I moved down here 30 years ago, water was still, it's like, you don't mess with those types of things. And that's playing out across the country. So folks are signing up saying, yeah, put a data center here, only to realize that the downside of that has a lot of negatives. And I think the good news about media and AI and things happening so quickly is those messages people are catching up. Courts are catching up, individuals are catching up, leaders are catching up, and I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah, we just finished up podcast with the chief economist for the Everglades Foundation.
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself right now talking about this data center thing. It's like, why didn't we bring up that topic while I had the guy here speaking about it? That would have been a fantastic topic to discuss. Talking about MLS consolidation, we touched on it briefly. What do you think is really driving the consolidation of these MLS entities across the country?
Let me take it down to a personal level.
Okay.
So like I said, I bought and sold 3 homes in the past 3 years related to moving and jobs. One was to be closer to our son who played lacrosse at Penn State.
Okay.
Right. Big thing, was recruited out of Florida, was so proud of him. So we wanted to be closer to Connecticut, relocated to a job, came down here, bought it, sold the original house in Orlando 3 times. And here's the thing, and I'm not going to say where it was at because I don't want to call out any MLSs.
Right.
Okay. But inevitably working with great realtors, right? It's, hey, I went on Zillow and here's what I'm looking at. And I give them everything and like, oh yeah, let me pull some comps and some other stuff that might fit.
Everybody's hair just stood up on their back because you went on Zillow first.
I know. But look, a consumer is going
We
to
know how
get
the
that,
consumer
right?
does it.
So
we
don't
get the
fight
text
it.
messages.
Don't fight it. Like, work with it. Now my realtor's like, okay, great. Or realtor.com. I don't want to, use them as well. And I give them, and I'm looking through it, and my wife and we're like, this is great. And then
I teach my people how to find the MLS number on Zillow. So I'm like, instead of sending me all these screenshots and I've got to type in the numbers,
that's a
just
disconnect.
Like, just get the MLS numbers and just text those over to me.
But then inevitably they send me a report and be like, based on what you gave me from Zillow or realtor.com, and they send me the schlocky report that's hard to read, that I'm fumbling through. They're like, can't you send this stuff to me in a better way that is more meaningful, that is value added, that it's more intelligent, it's user friendly?
Sure.
That's the genius behind what you guys have just done here. And I think if you guys take this incredible opportunity to make your products better. Those who own data, those who provide the best data are going to win. It doesn't have to necessarily be Zillow or Realtor.com. It could be MLSs,
Right.
but it's who provides that seamless experience. So if you make it incredibly easy for the realtor to provide easy to use tools and resources, so that when I get it, I don't go, the hell are you sending me? I'm like
Right.
screen going through stuff. That's a real example. And that's played out in 3 different MLS markets for me that I was like, guys, come on. We got to do better than that. That's where I think the huge opportunity is for MLSs. That's why I don't think it's going to be 500. I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 50. It's not 1. God, please, right?
Please no.
But yeah, please no. Sorry, Robert Refkin, it's not 1. But whatever that number is, I think the ones who win are the ones like you folks here who are really going to band together, put the politics and the association. Like again, I came from associations. I know what that world's like. Everyone wants to be, the Bruce.
There's a lot of politics in play.
There's a ton of politics in association. So with the Springsteen song, he said, poor man wants to be rich, rich men want to be kings, but a king ain't satisfied till he rules everything, right?
There you go.
So for me, it's like when you set all that aside and you think what's in the best interest of our customers, which in your case are the brokerages and the realtors,
Yep.
you provide the best product and you win. If you keep the focus there, you will win. Same thing for Inman. If we stop understanding that we're about providing news and analysis and really good data without putting our finger or our thumb on the scale, we will win. Once you start to cross that line, you lose. So, you talk about things like, Zillow and Compass. We don't that's not our battle.
Right.
Our job is to report it and to give understanding to local realtors, local brokers. What does this mean for them? Let them battle it out. Let the best company win. And that'll all shake out.
And you guys do a great job of really breaking down exactly why something's happening. It's not just here's the raw data. This is what we have found out is happening. It's like you guys take it that step farther. And I find one thing that's really funny. You put something out and then it seems like all of the other outlets end up taking a very similar approach. It's like, did you guys just wait for the Inman article to come out first so that way you can craft what your opinion's going to be? Or did you?
I think the genius of Brad Inman is that he truly understood the value of deep-rooted independent journalism. So in our organization, I cannot go to my editor-in-chief and go, hey, pull that story because X, Y, and Z is pissed, right?
Right.
I can say, listen, make sure that every single story we're putting out there is fair and balanced, right?
Right.
And it really weighs where everyone's trying to get to, because let's face it, everyone's got their angle, right? All these large companies.
Yeah, you just hurt everybody. You're like one of those comedians that comes out and it's like, I don't care who you are. I'm making fun of you.
I'm the Don Rickles. I'm the Don Rickles of the realtor world. And I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
I dated myself, Don Rickles. My God. Do you even know who Don Rickles is? I'm talking to the producer, by the way. He was in our intern here, first year at UF with Holly's group. Do you know who Don Rickles is? No? Okay. So yeah. So there, I dated
Nobody
myself.
knows Don Rickles. Okay. I'm with you. I know who Don
Genius.
Rickles is. As far as we touched on the data.
Yeah.
As far as data quality is concerned, you've said a couple of times, please no, not one MLS. I think that would be a huge detriment if we had one MLS, because now you've got no competition in the market. There's really no reason to think about advancement or how clean that data is. I mean, I know in some data shares that we have had that darn well that some of the data that's being shared with you has not been cleaned in a long time.
Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. You look at our federal government, I don't care what administration you're talking about, it's not a best-in-class operation, right? So you play that across a national MLS and you're just setting yourself up for failure. I'd much rather see groups like yourself, smart local people who understand the nuances of what their customers need.
Right.
We're setting ourselves up for disaster, I think, and again, Robert and I would probably disagree on this one, but I just don't see a world where that benefits anyone. One of the things in my career in associations, I was with the Institute of Internal Auditors. Okay. And, you talk about everything related to making sure that companies are being run with integrity and being audited and, best practices and the like. I encourage any association to have outside leadership sit on their board to really give the perspective that they're not getting around a table every single day.
That's true.
So whether that's, IIA or, in the veterinary world or, whatever anyone's doing, I think getting those perspectives is incredibly powerful. And I think it should happen, particularly in the MLSs.
Yeah, we talked about that at CMLS a couple of years ago when that was sort of starting to trend, when there were so many different changes happening, and people said, if you bring in people from other MLSs to have as part of your board,
Yeah.
even if they zoom in, just so you can get a different perspective. And you might be having a conversation and somebody goes, whoa, 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 we did that. It was an absolute nightmare. This absolutely does not work, and this is why. And you can either take that opinion or leave it,
Yeah.
but at least you've got somebody who's sort of checking you and keeping you in balance. We do bring in a lot of outside counsel, not as board members, but here at Beaches, to bring in people like Amy Gorse, who comes in and do some scenario planning, which we used to do, strat plans, but everything moves so quickly now. We switched over to scenario planning. So bringing in somebody to just say, like, what is it that you guys are thinking about? What direction are you going? How is this working for you? Have you thought about maybe implementing AI in this way and things like that to really make sure that everybody's on top of their game?
There's an entire industry built around bringing in outside ex officio board of directors to help support associations and not-for-profits and the rest. And, when they say it doesn't work, it was bad, it means that they weren't managed well. They weren't set up correctly, right? And again, I'm an associate. I love associations. Don't get me,
Sure.
like, I really do. But you are managing a lot of personalities and a lot of agendas. So if you've got a board of, let's say anywhere from 25 or larger to 50, that's a lot of personalities. And when people say, I'm just here for the benefit of the organization, that's just simply not true. It's disingenuous because everyone is joining boards and stuff to benefit their career or to benefit their brand. Is there cases of people doing it solely for their support? Yeah. But let me tell you, they're joining the Humane Society or something like that, or St. Jude's. They're not joining, your local business type professional.
Right.
Right. They're trying
Something near and dear to their heart.
right.
Like,
They're trying to join. They're joining something that also elevates themselves. So let's just be honest about that. It's not bad. It's actually good. You want that. That's the allure of being connected to a professional association. We want to be connected to it because of its stature, because of its standing. But as long as you put that in front, that everyone kind of has a perspective. I spent many hours with my boards in the past where we talked about those types of things. Like, let's be honest. You guys have a vested interest in what happens here for your own personal benefit. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah,
And then
for
let's
sure.
move forward and talk about what we need to get done.
For sure. But when it comes to staying on the topic of MLSs, what do you see happening? We talked about, consolidation. Obviously, you think that we're going to drop numbers of MLSs across the country. You were saying, 50 would be a great thing to see. But talking about a little bit longer term, next 3 years, next 5 years,
Yeah.
what do you think that agents should really be focusing on and paying attention to when it comes to the MLS world? And I mean, obviously, it's our tool that we use every day to do business.
Yeah. I think they need to be really encouraging and pushing their MLSs to be thinking different, to be investing in data, to be getting out ahead of the trends, to be embracing AI where it's beneficial, where it's uplifting. My God, everything I say, it gets louder and louder.
Louder and louder.
Someone's not happy. I think that's Compass. I'm kidding. Come on.
We could bleep that one. That's
Yeah, right. No, keep it in. No, but I think someone asked me the other day, they said, what do you think? Where's the number of realtors going? I think there are going to be less realtors, more professionals. That's an important
love that.
distinction.
Mhm.
Less realtors, more professionals, because I know a lot of realtors in my life, family members who got their license because they wanted to save a few bucks on their property flips and do all this type of
I
stuff.
hear that all the time.
All the time, right? Those are not professional realtors, right? They're hobbyists. I think the people like yourself and others who make a living off of this and do it each and every day, they're going to thrive, they're going to survive, and they're going to do better than ever. There will be less, but they'll be better.
So let me challenge you on that one, because we thought that was going to happen when NAR went through the settlement.
Yeah.
The market started to change. The interest rates were going through the roof compared to what we saw during the COVID years, and the market really sort of stalled out. And we thought this number is going to drop like crazy. It barely moved the needle.
Don't confuse the number of licenses with the number of people actively participating in the business of home.
Sure.
Those to me are very, very different things. Like, I even noticed in Fort Myers now, the number of active agents with signs being involved, take away, the slowdown and everything like that, that's less. The ones who were not really in it full time or committed, they're dropping by the wayside. And they may hold their license. They may use it for other purposes. And perfect example. I mean, like I even played with it one time because I wanted to get into Airbnbs because of the, bonus depreciation and all those types of benefits you get like that if you could show that you're a realtor operator. Those are not professional realtors who are out there to help people make the most important decision most of the time of their life.
So what do you think the reasoning would be behind that?
I think the reason behind that is just we're not going to see with these structural changes that we're talking about, we're not going to see a marketplace that we had in 2021, 22, where like you could swing a cat and hit, 15 homes that are selling and people chasing prices. You're not going to see that for a number of years.
Yeah.
We may see it again because everything's cyclical and comes back.
Those years were crazy.
They were crazy.
It was so nuts.
It was crazy. I mean, I remember in the middle of COVID up in Connecticut trying to find a house and we're rushing to, to meet the realtor before someone else gets there.
Yeah.
It's just, that's changed and that takes time to all shake out. Now, could that happen? Of course, everything can happen again. But I think by and large, when it comes to the core people who are doing this as their profession, that shakes itself out and it becomes a much different market.
Yeah, I remember during a few years ago, we were still in those COVID days, and my mom had a neighbor, his wife had passed away. He had completely let this house go, and he was moving back up north. Yeah. And I put the property on the market, put it up for fair market value. This thing was an absolute pig of a house. We had 35 offers on that property.
There you go.
And like 30 out of 35 were cash. I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole.
How about 2006 when you're getting mortgages with no paper, no documentation? You pay an extra point. Oh, I'm going to pay 4.5%, and I give you no proof of my income.
And I get to live in $1 million home on the Intercoastal. It was amazing. Yeah.
So we're not that bad, like in terms of the structural integrity of the markets.
Right.
But we're not going back to those great year post-COVID years or COVID years anytime soon.
So you're a busy guy. We're going to let you get out of here, but I've got a couple, just a couple more points to get through. How do you get on Inman's radar? As far as we've got super, super bright people here.
Yeah.
Speaking, recognition, getting seen. I mean, you hear about different players in the game.
Yeah.
Are you guys out there actively looking for these people? Is there a recruitment process, or are people throwing their names in the hat? I mean,
it's a combination. It really is. So a lot of times it's like someone like yourself will go, hey, you really need to tap into this person here. They're really doing some cool stuff. They should be writing an article. They should be on stage in New York or San Diego or wherever the case may be.
Sure.
But here's what I would tell you. We're actually working on a program right now that we're going to be idea pitching. And we're asking people to email me, tom@inman.com. What do they think they could add to the Inman community, right?
Oh, very cool.
Email ideas, email the stuff that could be cool. The only thing we ask is it has to be original and provocative and thoughtful. It can't be a script.
And don't use AI to write it.
And don't use or at least edit it. At least look at it.
Take out the M dashes.
yeah. Train it for the M dashes. But send it to me, and we're really looking for thought leaders in hyper local markets, because that's what it comes down to.
There you go.
I think now more than one of the criticisms that I heard of Inman is like, hey, it's the same people, right? Let's start shaking it up. And I've taken that feedback. I've probably had 100 conversations now with realtors and brokers all over the country. What should we do? How should we do it? What do you think? Those types of things. And we're taking that seriously. So we really want to pull thought leaders in at the local level, give them an opportunity to shine, give them an opportunity to share. But we're also about to launch something really exciting. It's Inman 2.0. And we're positioning ourselves now as the Bloomberg of residential real estate. So I saw the first example of this the other day with the product team. And we partnered with some great companies, Benzinga and some others, and some to be announced that are really big. And the data feeds and the information and the reports on the local, hyper-local area and the AI agents that they can tap into. And it takes Inman Select, the subscription platform, to an entirely new level. I cannot wait to share this in San Diego. It is game-changing, truly.
Amazing. Okay, that's good stuff. What kind of, this is just an off-topic question, well, totally on brand, but what kind of feedback did you get from Inman on tour? You guys hit Miami.
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent. The speaker lineup was incredible.
Yeah.
Some of those fireside chats were just like, it was new information. You walked in thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to get. And then it was like, oh, okay. Number one, the networking was fantastic.
Yeah.
Number two, I thought the speaker lineup was
Nashville was a huge success. Very, very.
Okay.
Here's where we're going with that. it's no longer enough to just have Inman on tour and create a mini Inman in a local community. We're really leaning into partnerships with other types of shows where there's a very specific spin in it. So we're about to announce a massive joint venture with another group that has a show. I can't share yet, but this is going to be exciting that we're going to be, partners on that. But all of them are going to be around deep dive topical types of things, how to build your brand. I mean, one of the things I say all the time, it's a little controversial, is that I think the local brand of the realtor is much more important than the brokerage they pick, right? People don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. The local brand is powerful. And I see that play out time and time again,
Right.
Every single time. And the big players are competing to get those local brands, right? So, a local show based just on social media and branding and those types of things. One based on harnessing the power of AI to really help your business grow forward. So really, instead of just kind of this generic, local type of thing, it's local, but within a certain segment of topics that you can really dive deep into. That's going to be coming out here. So there's
exciting
major announcements happening in
Yeah.
San Diego that I can't wait to get
Okay.
ahead of.
Well, if you need podcast hosts, I could be bought for very cheap.
We need to have the discussion. We need to have the discussion about RWorld in Miami, in San Diego, because I think it is the future. I truly mean that. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
I know the best things are only to come, but you guys need to be there and talk about it, and we need to focus on this.
We'll look out for the invite. Certainly, I love San Diego, and I've got some friends out there, so I'd be more than happy to come out and join you guys. Last question. From everything that Inman's watching on the national stage, consolidation, technology shifts, leadership changes, what is the move that you think South Florida's real estate community should really be, that people really should be looking to make?
So leaning on those intangibles that, really make a home and a community. And then any realtor who really spends time building their brand is going to win.
Yeah.
The last thing I've noticed too is that realtors who position themselves as general consultants on the business of home, as opposed to a transactional partner, are the ones who are winning. These are the folks who understand they can get access to home improvement specialists who are the best in class and affordable prices and those types of things, insurance, all those things, and bringing that to bear, because those are the things that homeowners are thinking about and frankly, they're scared of.
Absolutely. No, you know what? That is so spot on. It's really that person that is the true professional and has that team of everybody that the home buyer or home seller,
interior
really needs to
designers,
utilize
the whole entire
everything.
business of home,
Yep.
having those resources and those partners at their disposal and working with them collectively as a team.
Yeah, as opposed to just being a showing agent, transactional agent.
Transaction agent is not going to work anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And besides, you shoot yourself in the foot when you leave it up to the home buyer or the home seller to go and just, randomly choose somebody out of the phone book or,
Yeah.
do a Google search, because you as the realtor are going to be the one that ends up picking up those pieces.
Yeah.
And getting everybody to the finish line, and have to work with a contractor or a designer or somebody who, frankly, you've never met before,
Yeah.
shouldn't have been trusted in the first place to do the job, and has no idea what they're doing. And now, guess whose fault it's going to be.
The last thing I would say on that is the agents who really harness the power of AI in a constructive way are going to win. So I've had many conversations with Claude about the value of my house. The agent who comes to talk about my house should know as much as I've had those conversations with Claude. So do the research before, because it opens up a whole host of angles, and you don't want to get caught off guard with the types of questions that people are asking. It's like Dr. Google, right? You have a symptom and you're Googling, and you're going to go to your doctor and you're going to go, well, this is what Google's saying. Well, it used to be Google. Now it's AI, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing for realtors now. Here's what it's saying about my home. What do you think?
You used to be able to win the listing by going in and telling the seller something that they didn't know.
Right.
But now it's like they've all have access to ChatGPT or any other
great
language
tools,
model, and they come to you and you're like, hey, this is something cool about this neighborhood that you may not have known. They're like, yeah, we know all that. We know that. We know that. There's nothing anybody doesn't know anymore because they've read it before you even walked in the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your knowledge. Congratulations on the new position.
Great job here.
4-month-old new
I
position.
love what you're doing. Yeah, 4 months old. Again, feels like 4 years, but nevertheless, it's been good. It's great to work with you all.
Well, thanks for being here. Looking forward to seeing you out in San Diego. And for you guys that are listening or watching, as Tom said, Tom@Inman.com. If you've got the next great idea, you want to see yourself up on that Inman stage, or you've got something to share that they can write a piece about, please get in contact
Or
with
if they
Tom.
can speak, write, podcast, whatever the case may be, tom@inman.com.
All right, sounds good. Well, Tom, thank you for being here, and we will see you guys right back here next time on RWorld Talk.